Hey everyone, it's Afshan at Streaming Truth, and now also at a new channel, Irane Javan, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that also, but I'm streaming on my new channel as well, and I put the links in the chat. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I woke up this morning, one of the first major news articles I saw today was about the Vatican honoring the ambassador to the Islamic Republic of Iran. This occurred on May 8th. And before anyone says, no, it wasn't the Pope, because the title or the thumbnail says it's, Pope Leo honors the Iranian ambassador. It was actually not Pope Leo directly himself there at the ceremony doing it. We'll get more information on that, but it goes through the system of the Holy See and the Vatican and everything else. So before anyone says that, but ultimately, the Pope is allegedly the vicar of Christ, right? So I'm sure he's aware of it and has fully approved of the Holy See or the Vatican bestowing the highest honor on the Islamic Republic, in essence. So let me share a little bit of that and just kind of catch up to what happened. But before I do, real quick, remember again to check the chat. Because my link to my new channel is also in the chat. So I do want to plug that really quick before we get started. I've got lots of info to present, including a former letter that the ambassador of Iran wrote to Pope Leo back in July of 2025 and other stuff. But before we get into all of it, I did also create a brand new channel on the topic of Iran, the history, the culture, the politics, the religion, the music, the food, every conceivable topic about Iran from a perspective of somebody who was born in Iran, but is part of a diaspora of the we ourselves moved in 1978 out of Iran. My family immigrated here when we were very young. I became a U.S. citizen when I was 18 years old. When that was the earliest that you can do it. I wanted to, do it before then, but that's the legal age. And but I'm bringing it from that perspective as someone who himself is discovering his Persian identity. And so this is my normal channel, Streaming Truth, but where we talk more Bible, we talk more Christianity. I'm also coming from a biblical Christian perspective. So I have a unique perspective here as a Persian, as an American, and as a Christian. So join there. The new channel is called Irane Javan. So Iran, which of course the country, and then Javan. So Iran and Javan basically means young Iran. And do join, and the link is in the chat. We need you guys to subscribe to both channels to help it grow. But Iran and Javan basically means that it's the young Iran, but not just in the literal sense, but more in a sense of a rejuvenation of Iran or Persia or the ancient ideals of what's made that country. It's more of a patriotic kind of slogan, and it comes from a song, the first national anthem of Iran from the Qajar dynasty when the Shahs were being promoted, from a song called Vatanam, Vatanam, which will go over on my other channel. So I don't want to get too much into that right now. The point of today's stream is about what the Pope has bestowed upon the ambassador of the occupying Islamic Republic of Iran. So with that, let's go to that and I'll explain what's going on. All right, let's go to letters from Leo. So I'm just going to give you a brief overview. We're going to look at a lot of things here, but Pope Leo XIV, this is our new Pope, not our in the sense of he's not my Pope. I don't come from a Catholic perspective, although I am Christian. And I'm always trying to learn from, even Catholics themselves, what they actually believe. But Pope Leo XIV, the new Pope, I think it's been less than a year now, he awards top diplomatic honor to Iran's ambassador mid-war. So this is the, he's the American Pope, and there's a guy named Mohammad Hossein Mokhtari. Okay, Mohammad Hossein Mokhtari. He is the ambassador to the Pope, or to the Vatican, so the Holy See, because after all, the Vatican is itself its own nation within Rome, independent nation. And so they have ambassadors. You might say, why does the Vatican have an ambassador, from Iran? They have ambassadors from Russia, from Italy, from, everywhere pretty much, because they're their own nation technically. But it's a shocking news. I woke up with this in my stream and I'm going, this is like, my head was going to blow off. It's crazy because this guy, Mohammad Hossein Mokhtari, he is sort of like an intellectual within, he's like the diplomat type, scholar, etc., that goes and visits the Pope and the Vatican as the ambassador. But he is a representative of the IRGC, the Islamic Republic. So this is in the midst of the, Trump saying, President Trump saying that the ceasefire is on life support, and accused Leo of wanting Tehran armed with nuclear weapons. All right, because as you know, the Pope and President Trump have been a little bit at odds as of the last month or so. I covered that a bit earlier, but here's the guy. Here's the Mohammad Hossein. Let's see, let's make sure. We got two good Muslim names there, Mohammed and Hossein, which was, that's a good Shia name. One of the imams of the 12-verse Shia religion, and then Mokhtari. Okay, I don't know what that means, but that's a good, strong Persian or maybe Arabic name, because a lot of these guys, by the way, are Arabic. Now, I don't know him specifically. I haven't looked. I'm just kind of learning about this guy myself. But he is a part of the Islamic religion. Here he is meeting Pope Leo. So this apparently happened on May 8th, just a week ago or 5 days ago. And it was just announced, basically made public more today. So that's happening. And then it's kind of just shocking, right? And here's the certificate that he was given. This is what I was able to find online. I'm assuming this is like the real deal. It looks pretty real with the markings there, and there's from Iran, IRNA News, and so this is the official document. And you may ask, why is this guy from the Islamic Republic being rewarded when you consider the tens of thousands, maybe 40, maybe 50, maybe 60,000 that were killed in the space of 48 hours, maybe give or take. And this was back in January, of course, when the people of Iran rose up in protest of their government after not only being dissatisfied with their form of government and the oppression of the Sharia type government that is the Shia religion of Iran currently, which many of us as people born in Iran or from Iran who are now outside of Iran, and really, again, I was just 5 when I left, but we are very much feel that this is an oppressive regime, right? So why is the Catholic Church bending over backwards? And I have other words in my mind about it that I can't say, but bending over backwards to bring about this kind of peace with the Muslim world. Now, on the one hand, okay, I get it. There's like regular Muslims that are, you could say, they're not like extremists where they just want to like kill everybody and, they just want to live in relative harmony and peace. And I have like family members like that, or I have friends like that, from living in Los Angeles in like Tehrangeles in like the major parts of California, which there's a great Iranian population there who are pretty much 99.9% anti-regime, anti-Islamic regime. They're usually supporters of the Shah or Reza Pahlavi, and which I'm completely on sympathetic to that as well, and go into that in another stream. But why was this rewarded to the Pope? Let's go back to it. This is from the Pope to the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran. So here's the certificate. I try to get a translation of this, and I just was curious what it actually says. And as long as good old Grok did its job, you gotta check the all AI. You gotta know how to use AI to use it properly, but always check it, right? So, but it seems pretty real. So, translation of it, and I'm gonna let me just show the whole screen so you can actually see it better. All right, so this is an official papal diploma certificate awarding the Grand Cross of the Pontifical Order of Pius IX. Okay, this goes back to Pius the Fourth, I believe, and we'll get into all of that, like what this Grand Cross Order of the Pontifical Order is, or Grand Cross of the Pontifical Order. But it's basically the highest regularly conferred class of the Ordine Piano. Not sure what that is, but I'm just going to skim through it. This is all breaking, and I'm not a Catholic, but I want to get to the pertinent parts of it, because those are just kind of like the salutations, the titles, etc. But in Latin, we have here, this says that the recipient is Mohammad Hossein Mokhtari, that we talked about, and here's why he got this award, even though it is, like it said, routinely given to ambassadors, which is part of the defense of doing such a thing. But what he was given this award for was extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador, which pretty much means official, of the Islamic Republic of Iran to the Holy See. So he is the official ambassador. The Holy See is the government of the Vatican. You've got your Latin here of what this was. And this is an award for the Knight of the Grand Cross of the Order of Pius IX. Pius IX made some revisions to the order, to the original order, which was basically conferring knighthood on loyalists to the earlier Pope Pius. And at some point, Pope Pius IX came and revised this and changed it, so it's more of an honorary award, ceremonial more nowadays. But nevertheless, this is being given to the Islamic Republic in essence, notwithstanding that they just massacred like 40 to 50,000 of their own unarmed protesters, civilians with military grade machine guns. So this is why it just draws such outrage from people who are aware and watching what is going on in the world right now. So it's a very, very crazy thing to see. But let's just go back to it a little bit. It says, we choose, appoint, and declare you to this rank. So it's kind of like rankhood, right? It's like an honor is being bestowed upon. We grant you the faculty to wear the medal of the highest degree attached to the left side of the breast. So there's an actual medal that he's given. He can attach like a lapel. And so he's awarded. He's being awarded, and they just massacred all of those people. And to enjoy all the privileges connected with this dignity, which is kind of hard to get information on what those actual privileges are. If anyone knows, it's kind of, all of this is kind of like not, I don't know if it's secretive, but they're not ultra public with it either until they are. And so basically, this is Pope Leo XIV having received positive recommendations and recognizing the outstanding merits of Mohammad Hossein Mokhtari, Iran's ambassador to the Holy See, formally appoints him a Knight Grand Cross of the Order of Pius IV. It's like knighthood, right? Honorary. Good night. This is crazy. This entitles him to wear the Grand Cross insignia on the left breast and to enjoy all associated privileges. The diploma was issued on 8 May 2026 at the Vatican. This is a standard formal Latin diploma for this honor, typically given to long-serving ambassadors to the Holy See as recognition of their diplomatic service, because the Iranians are so diplomatic. The award was publicly reported in May 2026. All right, so that is the actual the text. And then I had a picture of the medal somewhere, but I'll find that. Maybe it was here. Here it is. Here it is. So this is the medal, the reward that he's being given. So I just don't understand the hypocrisy of this. I don't understand why Pope Leo has been so silent on the massacre of the tens of thousands of Iranians. We've got, other people like Ali Majd, who I did also a video on this channel on Streaming Truth. It will be uploaded to Iran Javan also. But his story about escaping as one of those protesters is something that is a good thing, and people need to also check out. I'll post those later. But there are it's mind-blowing, right? I'm like at a loss for words, honestly. I mean, this is just insane. But let's go to a couple other things here. Let me close out a couple tabs here, and then here it is also on. Let me make sure you can see this here. All right, yeah. Okay, so here also it is on Press TV. Now, Press TV is basically Iran state media, geared towards English-speaking people in the West and Americans. So if you run across Press TV, you need to be very careful. Now, I'm going to subscribe and see what they're saying so I can be aware, but this is Iranian state media, government-controlled pro-IRGC media. So this is now being used. This is why Pope Leo, okay, if his explanation is that he's doing this for some kind of, measure of peace and forming peaceful relations, so we're not always at war with the Muslims, like that's his explanation. But really, he's just being used as a tool. And there's a whole topic of, you can have peaceful, mass migration, right? Where you basically take over a country and its culture and everything, which we're going to be talking about that in our upcoming Sunday stream. But anyway, there is so much here. So they give this guy, this award, and Pope Leo is being used as propaganda now on Iran state media. And here's what they say. He's a doctor. He's one of the university guys, the propagandists for, ambassadors, right, for the Islamic regime. So Dr. Mohammad Hossein Mokhtari, Iran's ambassador to the Vatican, received the highest diplomatic honor from Pope Leo XIV. Established in 1847 under Pope Pius IX, the medal is awarded to ambassadors and notable figures for their efforts to strengthen diplomacy and promote peace, right? If this is peace, this is the kind of peace that the Bible talks about and ascribes to the Antichrist, of a sort of a fake peace, a false peace, right? The Iranian regime is not promoting diplomacy or peace. That's a joke, right? So everybody knows that. It's obvious. And we wonder why this new American leftist Pope, if you look at his tweets, he was he was very anti-Trump in those previous posts. If you look at his stream before he became officially the Pope, very hardcore, socialist, leftist, all this stuff. And he is shaking hands with like these cult murderers, mass murderers, akin to the level of Hitler. I mean, I really believe that as an Iranian American, as a Persian, as a Christian. This is promoting Satan basically to a place of prominence and giving them this great and beautiful award that we saw. So being used by Iranian state media as a means of propaganda. All right, let's see, what else do we have? So there's also been, let me find another clip here. Okay, we looked at that. Okay, here we go. Here's the other one I wanted to share. All right, so this is from zenit.org. Not familiar with them yet. I'm just finding some of these sites, but basically, this is Church and World, Pope Leo XIV, Vatican and Diplomacy. Here's the guy again. This is why I wanted to pull this up. Here's his picture. He's like one of the, full on, Khomeini type, full on mullah, turban wearing, type of full on, right? Is Islamic Shia. And so Iranian ambassador to the Vatican asks Pope Leo XIV in letter to defend Khamenei against USA and Israel. This is what I wanted to also share with you, because this is from July, I believe it was July of 2025. Yeah, July 7th, 2025. And let's read this a little bit, because this was actually a letter. This same ambassador has been in communication with Pope Leo, of course, as his ambassador, but you have to wonder what he was telling the Pope, this newly appointed Pope, about President Trump, about Iran, about all of the, different things, and why Pope Leo has come out so strongly in favor of the Islamic Republic of Iran. I mean, how can you not be if you're giving these guys awards and conferring honorary knighthood on them, right? All right, so from Zenit News, you guys check these sources out yourself, because, like I said, I'm just kind of finding some of these, but the part I wanted to go over with you here is what he actually said in that letter. So the dominant political culture, this is one of the quotes from that letter that he wrote to the Pope. The dominant political culture in today's world has increasingly sidelined spiritual and moral values. All right, wrote Mokhtari. So the dominant political culture in today's world has increasingly sidelined spiritual and moral values. So he's propping himself up, much like the pontiff, as spiritual. We're the ethical ones, we're the moral ones, and we're being attacked, because of the politics of the situation. This is very typical Iranian spin. And when I say Iranian, I don't mean the good people there. I'm always talking about the occupying regime. He says, what we now see is a growing tolerance for offense against sacred symbols and traditions, including, in this case, a religious leader held in deep reverence by millions of Muslims. So, of course, he's talking about the Grand Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who had his head blasted off in the first 30 seconds of this war by Israel, and that co-joint mission with President Trump and the United States Armed Forces. All right, so basically he's appealing to the Pope, saying, please don't attack our Ayatollah. Such affronts transcend politics. They injure the soul of a global religious community. And here's their official seal of the ambassador of the Republic Islamic of Iran, Presso La Santa. I think this is Latin, so I'm doing my best there. But so they've got their, Islamic symbol. This Islamic symbol is not a symbol of the true Iran. The true Iran has the lion and the sun, has for centuries. It goes back to different dynasties of different shahs in the region, dating all the way back to King Cyrus the Great. I mean, we've got thousands of years of kings and shahs before the Arabic Islamic occupation and takeover of the greater parts of Persia and much of the Arab countries, right? I mean, they came into the Arab countries, they came into Iraq, they came into, you know, all these different areas, and from there they occupied Iran, and then radically so after 1979. So this is the actual letter that he wrote to the Pope. So I just want to share that with you, and I'll read it because you probably don't read Latin and can't read that small, but I have another, let me see if I could find this. I have a translation of it. I hope this translation is accurate. But I was just curious, what did they actually say in this letter? So this is from the Embassy of the Islamic Republic to the Holy See in the name of God, to His Holiness Pope Leo XIV, most excellent guide of the Catholics of the world. With the present letter, I extend my greetings with the utmost respect. As Your Holiness is aware, the government of the United States and its president have, on various occasions, not only insulted the supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, who is not only a political figure, but also a religious authority, but have also directly threatened him with assassination. Well, yeah, job well done. But basically, he's writing to the Pope, to Pope Leo, complaining, oh, they're going to assassinate our supreme leader, et cetera, et cetera. They're insulting our holy supreme leader of the Islamic Republic of Iran, right? So he's writing a complaint letter, basically. Then he goes on to bash, of course, the Zionists and the Jews, right? You can't directly bash the Jews in a formal letter like this, so let's just attack the Zionists. Meanwhile, representatives of the Zionist regime, including the Israeli foreign minister, have explicitly admitted the intention of that regime to carry out such an assassination. So, I mean, he might not have been wrong. I'm not saying he's wrong. This probably was happening, but he's writing this letter because, yes, Israel, with the help of the USA, did assassinate the so-called supreme leader. And this is something that many people in the world wanted. With great sorrow, the dominant policy in the world today has led to the marginalization of spiritual and moral values and to the offending of traditions, sacred symbols, and above all, religious leaders. Okay, so he's complaining again. He's making this like a moral plea, a spiritual plea. You know, the marginalization of spiritual and moral values. So he's saying they're being marginalized. So the Islamic Shia religion of Sharia law is the one who, they're the ones who marginalize any other religion, any other, you know, culture. Like when the Shah was ruling Iran before 1979, there were like 100,000 Jews in Iran. Today, there's like 10,000. So if I were to, you know, because I was allegedly born Muslim, right? I never accepted Allah in any way, not in the Muslim sense. My whole life, I grew up very secular. But I became a Christian when I was 21. And at that point, you know, if I now, because I was born not even in the Islamic Republic, technically, legally, actually, they shouldn't be able to, because I wasn't born in the Islamic Republic. I was born in the time of the Shah, right? I was born during Mohammad Reza Pahlavi's time. But we left before the Islamic Republic came. So I never had any part of the Islamic Republic ever in my life. But from their perspective, if I were to go back, you know, they would basically take me at the airport and I'd be hauled away instantly. You know, that's just how it works there. So talking about marginalization is just kind of silly and ludicrous, because they obviously lie, right? So he's making himself the victim. He is the victim now. The recent action of the President of the United States, and he's particularly mad at Trump, even from its political and juridical aspect, which is in contrast with the laws and protocols recognized by the international order, carries bitter and dangerous consequences also on the religious level. In other words, this blatant insult to a religious authority of the Islamic world does not have only political repercussions, but also religious ones. Okay, you got it. It's pretty much just, it is what it is there. This act, besides compromising peaceful coexistence and reciprocal respect, risks nullifying all the efforts made for unity and fraternity among religions. Okay, so what peaceful coexistence is this guy talking about? And reciprocal respect? I mean, they don't allow their own people to peaceably protest in any way. And to, like I said, they kill them, they take them away, they haul them away. So I don't know what he's talking about. Risks nullifying all the efforts made for unity and fraternity among religions. Is that really the goal of the Islamic Republic? Because I didn't know that. Clearly contradicting the principles of the document on human fraternity signed by the late Pope Francis, another great pope, in 2019, right? Remember Pope Francis? I was hopeful with Pope Leo. I thought, maybe he'll be a little bit more conservative, or because he just didn't, he didn't look like a total ultra socialist like Pope Francis, and hardcore leftist, right? But I don't know which one's worse. Which one's worse? So Pope Francis in 2019, without doubt, if the religious leaders and thinkers of the world do not adopt a clear position against such acts, following what is indicated in the Holy Bible, he's going to the Bible. Wow, okay. See, for example, verse 27 of chapter 22 of Exodus, where God orders, "You shall not revile God, nor curse a ruler of your people." Okay, well, if it's Exodus 27:22, let's just assume that's the correct verse that's being quoted there. You shall not revile God. That's talking about Jehovah God, right? Not Allah. It's different gods. You shall not revile the one true God, nor curse a ruler of your people. That's assuming that the mullahs and the ayatollahs are a ruler of God's people. If you make that assumption, then I guess that would be offensive to you. So that's pretty much it. I think part of it, it says appears to be cut off at the end in the provided image. Okay, so the image wasn't complete. We got what translation we could. But this is wild stuff. This is wild stuff. It really is crazy. You've got this, again, this medal, this order of Pope Pius IX. This is what it goes back to, also known as the Pian order from Pius, a papal order of knighthood originally founded by Pope Pius IV in 1560. It goes way back. It is the highest honor currently conferred by the Holy See. Two higher honors, the Supreme Order of Christ and the Order of the Golden Spur, are dominant. So we can talk more about that, but it's just kind of all happening today, and that's pretty much it as far as that issue with Pope Leo right now in the Vatican, and conferring this honorary knighthood on the Islamic Republic of Iran, as we're bombing them, or about to bomb them. So again, like with Trump, we've nearly destroyed their military, but it is not over yet. Ideally, you need to arm the people and give an opportunity for Reza Pahlavi, the exiled crown prince, the only name that's being chanted among Iranians, both inside and outside of Iran. There's no other name, if you think about it, that's being chanted by the people. So the only thing else on this that we could kind of look at is this feud and I'll probably end on this today with a couple videos, this feud that occurred last week with President Trump, Pope Leo. So some of you may have already seen this, but it kind of ties in to what's going on. And so let's just go ahead and play this. This is basically Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary. She's a fiery character, really fun to watch the press conferences and see her put the media in their place, kind of the way Trump does. But anyway, she fires pretty hard. But the press asks her, and we get an actual speech from Pope Leo with a little subtitle and translation, and I'll tie all that in together because it is interesting to see what Pope Leo has been saying since. Keep in mind, this is since that letter from the Iranian ambassador back in July of 2025, and now the Pope is on this big spree of trying to unite, you know, the world with the Shia religion and with Islam and with, you know, with the IRGC. So here, check this out.
So Pope Leo said yesterday, and I quote him, God does not listen to the prayer of those who wage war. Can you comment on that?
Non si è armato, non si è di.
Okay, so this is where, you know, a few weeks ago, they were having this feud, right? And the Pope was basically saying that God will not hear the prayers of those who wage war. Okay, so remember that from a few weeks back. Here's the actual text.
Difeso, non ha combattuto nessuna guerra.
We'll go back a little bit.
Can you comment on that?
Non si è armato.
He did not arm himself or defend himself. I'll read it for you guys who aren't watching and are just tuning in. He did not arm himself or defend himself, speaking about Jesus. This is Pope Leo XIV talking about this.
Non si è difeso, non ha combattuto nessuna guerra. Ha manifestato il
He revealed the gentle face of God,
volto mite di Dio, che sempre rifiuta la violenza. Questo
who always rejects violence. This is our God, Jesus.
è il nostro Dio, Gesù, Re della pace. Un Dio che rifiuta la guerra,
who rejects war,
che nessuno può usare per giustificare la guerra.
whom no one can use to justify war. Is that what Trump was doing, using Jesus to justify war? I don't recall him exactly doing that. He did pray for the war effort and the soldiers.
Che non ascolta la preghiera.
He does not listen to the prayers. This is the speech that set Trump off on the Pope.
Di chi fa la guerra e la
Of those who wage war,
rigetta dicendo,
but rejects them, saying,
anche se moltiplicaste le preghiere,
even though you make many prayers,
io non ascolterei.
I will not listen.
Le vostre mani grondano sangue.
Your hands are full of blood. Okay. So he's going there. He's quoting Isaiah 1, actually. We're going to go to Isaiah 1 in a minute, but let's just finish this off.
I think our nation was a nation founded 250 years ago almost on Judeo-Christian values. And we've seen presidents, we've seen the leaders of the Department of War, and we've seen our troops go to prayer during the most turbulent times in our nation's history. And I don't think there's anything wrong with our military leaders or with the president calling on the American people to pray for our service members and those who are serving our country overseas. In fact, I think it's a very noble thing to do. And if you talk to many service members, they will tell you they appreciate the prayers and support from the commander-in-chief and from his cabinet.
Yeah, Caroline's great. And she is a Christian. And, you know, that's a big part of her identity, her persona, where she wears the cross necklace and the whole thing. You guys know, but that's the right answer. You know, that is what, there's nothing wrong with praying when you're in the midst of war for your military and for your people and for everything. Pray for the whole thing. We should be praying about this war. So Pope Leo completely takes Trump out of context to the point where it's pretty ridiculous. And he misquotes the book of Isaiah. Let's take a look at Isaiah real quick, and then we'll go to President Trump's response to Pope Leo. All right, let me get the right tab here for you guys. There you go. So he's quoting Isaiah 1:15. This is from the Pope's speech. God will not hear the prayer of those who wage war, right? So Isaiah 1:15 is what he's referencing. And he's completely butchering the scriptures and quoting them out of context because this passage isn't about war. But let's read it. Isaiah 1:15. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. So God is talking about not hearing the prayers of bloody men and murderous men and people who are unrighteous. So that part is true. But is it in context of war? Is this really what the scripture is talking about? Is this what, as Pope Leo says, is this basically saying that God will not hear the prayers of those who wage war, right? So when you look at the context, he's saying, you spread forth your hands like in prayer, right? You're spreading forth your hands in prayer. You're seeking me. You're doing all this because before that, they were talking about the feasts and the new moons, the festivals, the oblations, all this stuff, the incense. He was saying it was an abomination unto me. Why? Because they had become, the nation of Israel, Judah had become like the rulers of Sodom. Hear the word of the Lord, ye rulers of Sodom. Give ear unto the law of our God, ye people of Gomorrah. So this was the prophet Isaiah calling the Jews and the Israelites back to the holy law of God, which was the Mosaic law, not the Quranic law, the Mosaic law, not Sharia. But it's in context of that, and he's not literally talking to Sodom and Gomorrah. If you go back, you got to just keep getting the context of the passage. He's actually talking, it's a vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, Isaiah the prophet, in the days of the, King Hezekiah. And he's speaking to the children of Israel, right? He's speaking to a sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters, because they have not, because isn't in the Bible, that's just me saying it. I don't want to add to God's word, but they have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward. So this is his own people. These were the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard. These are God's own people. They had strayed, right, from caring for the poor, the orphan, the widow. How do we know that? Because if you keep reading past what Pope Leo read, I know Catholics aren't big on sola scriptura, but it is important, whatever your views on the Bible, after he says, in verse 15, when you spread forth your hands, this is in prayer, I will hide mine eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood, because they had become murderous. And keep reading in verse 16. Wash you, make you clean, put away the evil of your doings from before mine eyes. Cease to do evil, learn to do well, seek judgment, relieve the oppressed. Think about what the Islamic Republic of Iran is doing. They're oppressing. They're the oppressor, right? But we're supposed to relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, plead for the widow. In fact, the regime is making many fatherless and making many widows by all the people that they kill. So they're the ones whose hands are full of blood, in essence, in other words, right? Your hands are full of blood, and here they are shaking hands with Pope Leo the 14th of the Roman Catholic Order. So I'm shocked. I'm angry about it. I think it's insane. And I'm, honestly, I'm trying to have like an open mind, even where we have commonalities with Catholics, like we all do believe in the death, burial, and the resurrection, I would hope, right? But then I know we have many differences. So I'm even trying to understand like where they come from. Interestingly enough, I just spoke to a Catholic, trying to just speak to Catholics so I can get an understanding of their views from a Christian perspective. And I just couldn't get the person to just very simply say, I believe in the death, the burial, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Because that is, in essence, is the foundation of the faith, right? It's not the sacraments. It's not going through a father where the Bible says, call no man your father. It's not through the alleged vicar of Christ. It's through Jesus Christ himself, right? So the Pope is completely he's abusing and misusing the Bible. He is misquoting it. And let's just take a look at a few other passages, because the Bible is actually very pro-war if it's a just war, if it's the Bible recognizes that, like the book of Ecclesiastes says, that there's a time for peace and a time for war, right? So sometimes war, as evil, as horrific as it can be, is necessary, right? There's no way around it. There's no alternative sometimes, but we all hate war. We all hate any civilian casualty, even one we don't want, right? But the Bible is not anti-war. It's anti being oppressive. It's anti-murder. It's this is speaking on a societal level, that if you do those things, God isn't going to hear your prayers. But he did hear the prayers of his people when they prayed during times of war, which is exactly what President Trump did, or is promoting. Psalm 144:1 and Pete Hegseth and all these guys. So, blessed be the Lord my strength. This is King David, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight. Right? God is who makes us to know war, to fight war, and to be trained unto war. Like, you want to rely on the Lord, both physically and spiritually. Psalm 18:34, he teacheth my hands to war, so that a bow of steel is broken by mine arms. A bow of steel. This is like the feats of the men of old, the men of renown, right? Men as warriors, which is a very biblical concept. So Exodus 15:13, the Lord himself, the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Now remember, this is the Tetragrammaton in the Bible. Whenever you see the Lord, all caps, this is talking about Jehovah, JHVH, the Tetragrammaton in the Old Testament, right? So this is a very specific God who's named. It's Jehovah. The Jews, of course, weren't, in their culture, they weren't, it was too holy to pronounce, but it was written, and then the King James translators preserved that historical tradition by changing Jehovah to Lord, because that's how that's how it was in the culture of the Jews at the time. Deuteronomy 21:4, when thou goest out to battle against thine enemies. So he's saying, hey, when you are going to war, it's going to happen sometimes. I pray not. God forbid. Like, I don't want any war near or around us anywhere. I want all wars to end. But we also need to end oppressive regimes. And seest horses, this is the Lord speaking, when thou goest out to battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots and a people more than thou, be not afraid of them. For the Lord thy God is with thee, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be, when ye are come nigh unto the battle, that the priest shall approach and speak unto the people, and shall say unto them, Hear, O Israel, ye approach this day unto battle against your enemies. Let not your hearts faint. Fear not, and do not tremble, neither be ye terrified because of them. For the Lord your God is he that goeth with you, to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. So God is on their side, right? Joshua 1:9. There's so many. I'll just give you Joshua 1:9, and we'll go back to President Trump's response to Pope Leo. But Joshua 1:9, very famous one. God commands Joshua to lead the conquest in Joshua 1:9. The text reads, Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. Right. So, of course, this was the Lord God Jehovah to Joshua to take the promised land from the Canaanites. And that's the context. And war is all throughout the Bible. because it's all throughout the world, unfortunately. Do pray for peace. Do pray for the peace and safety for the Iranian people who are trapped there in the midst of this war. And pray for victory for them and for America and for Israel. You know, we do wherever you are on Zionism, and we've had those debates, we've had those discussions, we'll continue to, but wherever you are on that, Israel is standing against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, you know, Hamas, all of them, right? All of the ones that the IRG, the Islamic regime, the regime of Iran is funding, all of their proxies, right? So Israel, the USA, wherever you are, you know, left, right, politically, it's like we're holding back the tide of Sharia and the Islamification of the world. This is why this war is important and necessary. Excuse me. But tragic as all wars are, you know, so pray for victory for God's people, for the Iranian people. There's a major growing underground movement of Christians within Iran as well. It's the fastest growing religion in Iran. And in fact, if you ask people inside of Iran, like people that have escaped from Iran, people that I know that live there, people that that I know here that have left there, they all say the same thing. You know, the vast majority of people there are not Islamic anymore. I think atheism, maybe atheist. It's either atheism or Christianity is the fastest growing. You know, those two are basically, and there's a small resurgence of Zoroastrianism, but there's been, you know, pushback, especially among the youth and the younger generation, against this oppressive regime. So pray for them, pray for peace. And let's just end with a little bit of President Trump here responding to Pope Leo, and then I'll just come back with closing thoughts and we'll close out for today. Do also, again, be sure you subscribe because I did just create a new channel. This is the first video on that channel. And so I need to grow it. Normally I'm on Streaming Truth, which you can subscribe there also, but join Iran Javan. The link is in the chat and I'll post it later in the description of the video. But Iran Javan, if you go to YouTube or YouTube at Iran Javan, Iran Javan, really appreciate it if you guys subscribe. And that basically, again, that means the young Iran. And again, not only in the literal sense of time and chronology, like Iran is young, but a rejuvenated Iran, an Iran that is resilient, an Iran that is eternal in a sense. And it's a promotion of those ideas and cultures and histories of Iran before the Islamic occupation in 1979. So do join there. I'm, you know, like I said, I'm kind of on that journey myself because really I grew up here from like a toddler age, right? And so, or just above, and I hadn't immersed myself in that history and that culture as much as I should have. And so this is a journey of rediscovery for me as well. And so I'm able to convey that from an inside perspective of having all those Persian friends and family and the culture and the music and the you know, everything else, the food, everything that's so great. Having that background to be able to convey in a way that maybe people can understand, you know, some of that as well. So join there, Iran Javan. That name, real quick, is from, I gotta make this clear. It's from it's like a patriotic song, the first Iranian national anthem, dating back to the Qajar dynasty. It's a song. It's about a song from that called Vatanam Vatanam, which that phrase, Iran Javan, the young Iran or the eternal Iran, is a part of that song where the channel name comes from. So again, please subscribe there. We got to grow that channel, at least so that we have some people joining and listening and tuning in and joining it out in the chat as well. So with that, let's go back to President Trump's response to Pope Leo.
The Pope criticized people who, quote, manipulate religion for political or military gain. Do you think that he was talking about you, sir?
It's very important that the Pope understands. Very, very important. It'd be nice not to say it. Iran killed 42,000 people that were totally unarmed. They were protesters. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. If they did, every country, including Italy, where he's stationed, every single country in the world would be in trouble.
Let me just stop it there for 1 second. President Trump mentions the 40,000 plus murdered Iranian protesters who were unarmed and gunned down by military-grade machine guns. They mounted these, machine guns to trucks, to like pickup trucks or to whatever they had, or military trucks also, and they would just go through the streets in the middle of the unarmed protesters and just kill them, right? So President Trump mentions this more than once. I've never really heard the Pope talk about that even once. I think he mentioned, like, in an indirect way, saying anyone who sheds, anyone who's violent is in the wrong, or something like that. Very generic, very basic, very indirect. But here we have President Trump, whom the Pope is criticizing, right? Remember, this whole feud began with the Pope accusing President Trump of using God and prayer to promote the Iran war, using it as a justifications to go to war, and Pope Leo seeing all war is bad, which is not what the Bible teaches. I would love it if we had a Pope who would teach what the Bible teaches. Like, that would be kind of cool, right? But everything he says is like anti-Bible or anti-history or reality. I mean, they're murdering people in front of our faces, and here he is shaking hands with this murderous butcher. But let's keep going, because the nuclear point is the other big issue, right?
So we're doing very well with respect to that, having to do with the whole situation on Iran. The blockade is amazing. It's holding up very strong, very powerfully. And I think we're making a lot of progress in that. But the Pope has to understand Iran, very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The world would be in great danger.
Okay, very simple, guys, and very true. The same, jihadi, Shia, Mehdi cult, all this stuff that they're trying to usher in, the destruction of Israel. Excuse me. Gotta watch my throat. But the destruction of Israel, and which is their stated goal. That's a stated goal of the Islamic Republic, of the regime. That's a stated goal. It's the destruction of the great Satan, which is America to them, and the destruction of the little Satan, which is Israel. Right? That's their openly stated goal. This, they believe, from an ideological or religious sense, will usher in the coming of the Mehdi, which is their version of the Savior, or which Christians would understand that to be Antichrist, right? So it's this whole thing, you can't have, this is why Iran hasn't been backing down, because they're not using reason and logic. They just want to survive in order to keep their religious cult going. At least from the religious perspective, at least from the Ayatollahs and the mullahs who actually are believers. But it's very clear, you can't have them have a nuclear weapon. You can't allow that. They fund all the proxies. This is all the stuff you guys know. But in addition to all of that, we need to arm the Iranian people, pray for the Iranian people, and pray that we win this battle and this war, that God goes with us. We should be, against what Pope Francis is saying, we should be praying for God to go with us into this battle and to give us the victory and to end it as quickly as possible. We need to wrap this up. We need to bring it to a close. And I understand all that, but God bless you guys. Again, please subscribe to both channels, and they're in the chat right now. I'll put them in the description for both channels as well. Especially don't forget to join Iran and Javan, the new channel I've started on Iranian culture, history, music, food, everything. So join me there. God bless you guys. Please pray for me. Please pray for yourselves, your families, for the world, and for the people of Iran. And all the people listening, God bless.